Alright guys, today we're going to look at how to set up a bearded dragon cage. I have my bearded dragon back here, doing a cage cleaning for him, getting it all fresh and new. And at the same time I'm going to show you how to set up a brand new bearded dragon cage. So for a single bearded dragon, you're going to want a 40-gallon tank. You can, if they're younger, go with a 20 or 30, but you're going to need a 40 when they're an adult. So it's best to go with a 40 up front, and then you're just done. You got a cage that they can live their life in. The bigger the better. If you want to go a little bigger, you can. The 55-gallon tanks are actually skinnier, not as wide. So the 40 is actually better than most 55s. 75 would be the next step. And if you want to have two bearded dragons, like a breeding pair or two females, you would want at least a 75, maybe even like around a 100-gallon tank. But a 40-gallon, perfect for a single dragon. You're going to want one with a screen top. You cannot have a glass top. UVB rays don't go through glass, so you need a screen top. Also provides ventilation. All I've done so far is throw in this green bottom. And what that is reptile carpet. I guess they're calling it eco carpet in the brand I bought. You can get these perfectly sized for any size tank. I think they go up to about 75 gallons. You might be able to find some other sizes online. 40 gallons real easy to find. They last, I usually replace them about once a year. Like I clean them more often than that. But I usually replace them about once a year, and then throughout the year, every month or so, I do a full cage cleaning, take it out, shake it off, spray it down, and then it's clean again to use for a while. So they last a long time, not too expensive, because you get to use them for a long time. So get some reptile carpet. Sand is not great. Some people use sand, but it can cause impaction. Other people might use other substrates. I've used this, never had any single issue. So I definitely recommend reptile carpet. Now let's go ahead and just say what you need in the tank. As you can see, my dragon back here is on a log. You're going to want some type of log or rock for them to sit on. So we're going to go ahead and throw in his log here, but I'm first going to throw in this water, just because I know it sits kind of under the log. So I got a full thing of water here, and I usually just put that somewhere around the middle of the tank. And then I'll take him and his log, and I'll throw it in by the back of the tank here. And I'll put the water just kind of right near it, so that if he wants to go down and drink out of it, he can. Now you can use rocks or logs, either are fine. I also have a little rock here, just something else for him to sit on. This sits under the heat light, so that just kind of holds some heat so he can sit there and bask in the heat to help digest his food. You're going to need about a 100-degree hot spot. You're going to want to test that with a thermometer and raise or lower your lights and get it at 100 degrees. You can't just guesstimate on this. You need to make sure that's right so that they can properly live and digest their food. No lighting or heating is needed at night. They're desert creatures, so at night in nature it can get down to 50 degrees even. So no light is needed, no heat is needed at night. You just need to mimic the sun during the day, which we'll get to in a minute. So other than a rock and log and your substrate, which I'm using reptile carpet, like I said, I highly recommend, you need your water dish. And then I'd recommend a couple food dishes. Now young dragons eat mostly insects, and you could just throw crickets in the tank. Adult dragons eat mostly salads or greens, collard greens, mustard greens, kale, other things. Salad is great, lettuce is great. People will say lettuce is bad. It's not bad, it's just there's a couple types that are bad. I wouldn't recommend iceberg. Some people say romaine's not that great. But there's hundreds of types of lettuce out there, probably more than that. Many of them are good. I grow a lot of lettuce myself, many different types, and it's great for them. But don't use iceberg or romaine. Some people say romaine's okay though. Now, so for adults you feed mostly salad type stuff, but still some insects. For younger babies and juveniles, they eat mostly insects. So he's an adult now. I've had him actually since I think 2009. But he still gets insects a couple times a week, and then salads pretty much every day, at least 6 times a week. So if you get a plastic dish that's very smooth, mealworms, superworms, waxworms, calciworms and stuff cannot crawl out. So again, I'll put that kind of near. I'm going to put this one back here by the bottom of his log. Hopefully you guys can see this. And I'm just going to throw some waxworms into here. And that way he can see them, he can run down on his log and bite them off. But they can't get out of the dish. So I'll throw some in there. They'll live in there, they're not going to die right away. They'll live for a few days. And he can eat them off. as he wants. So live is always best, it has moisture in it. But I also often will throw in some freeze-dried mealworms or other freeze-dried insects. So I'm going to throw some of those also in, just with the waxworms here. And he can take his pick of eating some of those insects, and I'll give him salad later. Other than that, there are some bearded dragon foods. I've never tried this. This is a National Geographic adult bearded dragon entree. Never tried this. I'm going to give it a try, see if he'll eat it now that he's older. He will eat salad, of course, he's older, so he doesn't need moving things to eat them. So he might like this. I think natural salad's probably better, but this is like little pellets, and I'm just going to, again, throw it in a dish right down by the bottom of his log so he can easily get his mouth into there. So now what else do we need? Honestly, that's about it, other than lighting. So you need a screen top. And that's all you need for a bearded dragon tank. It's actually very simple to set up. But you need lighting, and you need to provide basically mimic sunlight. And sunlight provides UVB, UVA, and heat. So UVB lights, people often ask me, does UVB lights provide UVA? Yes, basically all lights provide UVB, but only special lights also provide, UVA, but only special lights also provide UVB. So you can provide this fake sunlight, mimicking sunlight, with a UVB light like these compact fluorescents that are UVB, but they don't give off much heat. So you would also need a basking spotlight. You'd want to put both of these on one side of the cage, and then you'd want to test the temperature down by this rock. Put a thermometer there. You want it about 100 degrees. If it's too hot, you want to raise your light a little higher, your heat light, so that it's not as close, so it's not as hot. If it's not hot enough, you're going to want to lower it or get a higher wattage heat light. Both your UVB and your heat light, you're going to want on for about 10 to 12 hours a day and then off all night, just like mimicking the sun. Now I don't use two lights. This is a basking heat light and this is a UVB light. I use a single light that does both. This is a Power Sun, I believe. There's also Solar Glow by Exoterra and Zoomed. And I believe they're metal halide lights. These provide UVB and heat, so you just need one. It's basically a little sun all in one. So I just have one of these above the tank. This provides the heat he needs and the UVB he needs in one light. So I prefer this way. The lights are a little more expensive, although they've come down in price over the last few years. These things used to be like 50 bucks. Now you can get these lights for, I believe, like 20, 25 online especially. So they've come down in price. They're not that bad anymore. And then you just need one light. I really suggest you use a timer. Then you don't have to worry about doing anything. Everything's automatic. All you have to do is worry about feeding and cleaning. And that's it. So basically, very simple cage. A rock, a log, water dish, a couple food dishes, and then mimic the sun with UVB and the proper temperature for about 10 to 12 hours a day. Very simple to set up, really. As you saw, we just did that in a couple seconds. All I got to do is put the cage back and plug in his light. And now he's good to go for about a month until I need to do a thorough cleaning again. So if you have any questions, let me know. Again, 40 gallon for a single dragon is okay. The bigger the better, but I'd go with a 40 instead of a 55 because the 40 breeders are not as tall, but they're actually wider, so they give more room to turn around and such. 75 gallon is great for a single dragon as well. If you want two, it's best to get two females unless you want a breeding pair. And then a 75 to 125 would be the way to go. But again, any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see y'all later. And that's how you set up a bearded dragon cage.